Namaskar to all my viewers. Acha, now I've been always asked whether do I think EVMs are hacked, EVMs are manipulated, EVMs are whatever they're used to get more votes. All of this, a lot of people ask me, and I never answered these questions. A lot of people wrote to me saying that "Kyun डरते हो क्या to answer these questions?" But yeah, I mean, I didn't answer the question. You know the reason why I didn't answer the question? The reason why I didn't answer the question is because मुझे नहीं मालूम. I don't know. And therefore, I thought it was not wise to answer things or to make statements which technically you are not aware of. So I'm lucky this time. This time we have Mr. Madhav Deshpande. Now, Mr. Madhav Deshpande, I'm sure all of you all must have been aware of who he is now because he's been there in a lot of channels, have attended a lot of interviews, given a lot of interviews. And he's an expert in computer software, expert in understanding what an EVM is and telling us what an EVM actually does and what it can't. Okay, so let me be very clear about this. This is not a political interview. We are not talking about a particular political party doing this or particular political party doing this. This is not. We will talk about what EVM is and what EVM does. That is my topic today, and I will invite Mr. Deshpande. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for joining us. And sir,
thank you for having me.
I will directly get into my question. Sir, ye EVM, can it be tampered?
And good place to start. And I've always said this in all wherever I've spoken. Yes, they can be tampered, they can be manipulated, they cannot be hacked. Indian EVMs cannot be hacked. I've always said that multiple times. And one of the most fundamental reason is that when they are in the polling booth, they are completely disconnected because they don't connect to any Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, internet, whatever. So hacking is taking control from remote and making a machine behave in a way that it is not supposed to behave. That's what hacking is. Manipulation is when you can make a machine behave differently by not taking control from remote, but either from within the machine or using the physical attributes of the machine, like pressing keys or whatever. So Indian EVMs can definitely be hacked, especially after the VVPAT has been introduced, which happened in 2013-14 timeframe. Because I'll quickly go over it because I think there are more important issues today, and we would like to discuss those. But quickly giving an overview, EVM has three components. One is a ballot unit, the second is a control unit, and the third is the VVPAT. Earlier, the Election Commission had never disclosed any technical details. But since we started saying that, okay, if we have to live with these three components, there is no reason why the VVPAT should talk to the control unit. The ballot unit should talk to both control unit and VVPAT and send the same signal, copy of the same signal, whichever the voter presses, the key value, to both control unit to save and for VVPAT to print the receipt. Now, the moment we said that, for the first time on 30th of December and followed immediately on the 30th of January, followed on 7th of February, the EVM came up. The Election Commission came up with a new FAQ where they said that this is a master and slave arrangement where control unit is the master of both these. So naturally, we can't now technically argue that the VVPAT should not connect to control unit. The problem is control unit and ballot unit are they're locally agnostic, which means the location agnostic means it doesn't matter to them where they are located. They could be in Pune, in Mumbai, in Jamshedpur, in Jammu, or in Trivandrum, or in Cochin. It doesn't matter. They have absolutely, it is irrelevant to them. They only register the value of the button that is pressed. Whereas VVPAT is locally aware. Just 10 to 15 days before the actual election happens, after the list is finalized, using something called as a symbol loading unit, the authorized people from Election Commission go to every constituency and download the list of candidates with their order in which they are going to appear on the ballot unit. And then they upload this data in the VVPAT. So this makes two things. This violates two things. One is that now you can't say that all the time the entire EVM is never connected to internet, because the symbol loading unit via a computer which is not in the secure custody chain of the election commission, that computer connects to the web server of the election commission. They download the data on the computer, copy it in the symbol loading unit, and the symbol loading unit now connects to the VVPAT. So indirectly, the VVPAT, which is a part of the EVM, gets connected to the internet for whatever time. Now, the data that goes in is locally aware. It's local data. So VVPAT is very much aware of the order in which the candidates of that constituency appear. Who's the first, who's the second, who's the third, etc., etc. So you can't say the same thing about VVPAT as you can claim that control unit and ballot unit are location agnostic. VVPAT is not. VVPAT has a program which matches the number that the control unit passes to it. Let's say it passes number 3, then it matches that number 3 with the list that it has and prints that symbol and the name of the. So it has a program which is again locally aware, and that program we assume that it will, let's say if I'm the control unit, I say ask the VVPAT, I'm sending you 3, print the VVPAT, print the slip for 3. VVPAT prints that slip, and then of course it has to tell the control unit that it has printed the slip. We assume that it will just say I have printed slip 3. What if it tells the control unit that I have printed for 3, you say 1? It can very well say that. It can very well say that. It's a program, it is capable of doing that. And it can do it on every 3rd vote or 5th vote or whatever. The way it is. And for this, the program doesn't have to change when they upload the symbols. The program is already there. When the symbols come in with some extra information alongside one symbol, that program will treat that. So somewhere that extra information could be with the candidate number 1, somewhere it could be 3, somewhere it could be 5, but all that is possible. So VVPAT can definitely 100% be played around with. It can make mischief. Now what happens is VVPAT may print the slip for candidate 3 and ask the control unit to save the vote for 1. Here, if I'm the voter, I see my vote slip to be printed the way I pressed the button. I press 3, I see 3. I'm happy. But VVPAT internally has asked control unit to say 1, which I don't know, which I do not know. That is a big problem. So given that we are going into this election with the EVMs anyway, that is a conclusion now. We have to realize we have 2 problems that are facing us. One is this unknown behavior of VVPAT vis-a-vis control unit, whether VVPAT tells the control unit to save a different vote or not, and whether the control unit saves it or not. That is a completely total unknown. And the second thing is the control unit. See, there are 10 lakh, 20 lakh, whatever that number, let's say 10 lakh units as per the election commission, EVMs, which means 10 lakh control units, 10 lakh ballot units, and 10 lakh VVPATs. These 30 lakh, they carry what they call as a digital certificate, which means they carry a pass. Like if I go to board an airplane, I have to carry my boarding pass.
Correct.
If I don't have the pass, I will not be able to enter the plane. So this is like that pass, which means that, let's say in the airplane there are going to be 200 passengers, then any of those 200 can enter, and they can talk to each other also while they are in the airplane. But somebody who doesn't have the boarding pass cannot get in.
Correct.
Similarly, this digital certificate allows these 30 lakh units to talk to each other, amongst each other. Anyone can talk to anybody. If I make my own EVM or buy somebody else's EVM, some other company's EVM, it will not be able to talk to these because it will not have that digital certificate, which is the pass.
Correct.
So to that extent, this is a security, but this security is at a group level. What happens is you never use all the EVMs at the same time. There are some spare because you don't know something might go wrong with somebody, some EVM, some unit. You will have to replace it. So some are kept as spare. What can be done is like in the olden days, ballot boxes could be stuffed with ballot paper, false ballot papers, and replacing the legitimate actual ballot boxes. Similarly, this control unit that holds the actual data, voting data, can be replaced with a spare legitimate control unit that has illegitimate votes. Somebody has stuffed those electronic votes. That can be done because the only identification is the number that it has. And the numbers can be replaced. You can change those labels, or
Correct.
even if it is etched, you can change the etching. Whatever can be done. That is the second very big problem because there is no pairing involved here. And I've been saying this. I have written to the first thing I did when I discovered all this was I wrote to all the authorities, the Prime Minister, the President, the Chief Election Commission, the Chief Justice of India, that these are systemic concerns that we have. And these need to be, and this was way back about 4 or 5 months ago that I did this, I think in September sometime. So, and nothing happened. But this weakness remains in the system. We have to address these two.
Mr.
Given that we
Deshpande,
are, sure.
Sorry. Given that, please continue. My apologies.
Given that we are getting into this election with the EVM, we are going to vote. It should not mean to the voter that they should not turn up for voting. Voting is extremely important and everybody should vote. Don't worry about what's going to happen to your vote. Vote, because that is both your right and your duty. And that's the only way to make a change.
Correct. Mr. Deshpande, see, forgive my ignorance, but I want to just dwell on this. You see, what I understand is this cannot be tampered in a national scale because it's not online. So it's not online, you cannot hack it, but it cannot be tampered in a national scale. So what you are saying is, what I understand, is that it happens in a regional scale. Is that how it works? Is this tampering in regional this thing?
So if you want my theoretically correct answer, see, as I told you, the data is downloaded from the Election Commission website and it is available to download only to authorized people. If additional information about a particular candidate is to be inserted in the data, what stops the officers in the Election Commission's office to insert those additional informations wherever they want? Now, once that is done, the people who download that data and upload in the VVPAT using symbol loading unit, they won't even know because they don't know what is being uploaded. They just download and upload it. You get my point? So
Correct.
This is even easier.
Correct. But sir, isn't that then a continuous process? Because you'll have to, you have 30 lakh going out, coming back, then you do the changes, then 30 lakh goes out, then comes back, isn't it?
No. I don't know. Maybe my communication was not effective.
No. I don't understand this well, so it's my mistake, I'm sure. Please tell me.
No, that's fine. No, see, the thing is, I was talking of two things. One is that the VVPAT can respond differently, which nobody knows. Election Commission has stonewalled all the queries. They have never, they never say what kind of communication happens, what are the responses that are. These are all technical things. They should be able to divulge that information. It is not a national secret. In fact, not divulging, in my view, is a national threat to our democracy. That's my personal view. And since it is technical, there's nothing political involved. Nothing, there shouldn't be any secrecy, but somehow they have maintained that secrecy. So be it. It might be their policy, but that means that there is a reason to doubt what is happening. So
Yes.
because there is no transparency, so that was one issue, that the EVM and the VVPAT can give different response to the control unit than what we assume it will give. That was one issue. And the second issue was that after the polling day is over, when the control units are stored, they could be replaced by legitimate spare control units with illegitimate votes. That was
Okay.
the second issue. The
Hmm.
first issue deals with is because the data is downloaded from the website, and the website data, as I said, extra information for any given set of candidates, all 540 candidates, can be put in the election commission's server by the election commission officers themselves. We have nobody knows. See,
Correct.
the lack of transparency is the worst thing that you can do in a democracy.
Correct. Correct.
So there
Correct.
is a complete lack of transparency there, and there has been no response. So
Correct.
that was the first issue, and that is what makes the VVPAT capable of giving different responses, so that control unit will store a different vote than what the VVPAT printed the slip for. It printed the slip for 3, but control unit can store 1. This happens on the polling day. After that, the unit is sealed and it is kept in a very secure environment. However, spare control unit can be stuffed, which is legitimate, which has the digital certificate, can be stuffed with illegitimate votes. And because it has only a number to identify, which is recorded manually,
Correct.
whether that number is engraved or it is encrypted or whatever, it is, after all, a physical number. It is not electronic pairing.
Correct. Correct.
So that illegitimate vote back, the legitimate control unit with illegitimate votes can replace the actual control unit that contained actual votes. That is the second problem. These two are real existential problems and threats that we have.
Mr.
Am
Deshpande,
I, am I
then
clear?
I absolutely clear, absolutely clear. I got this, with my limited understanding of softwares. Sir, I want to ask you another question. You see, that means technically what I understand is, if you have to tamper with EVMs, you cannot tamper it in, like you rightly said, in regional levels. There has to be a system in place to tamper EVM, a good robust system in place to tamper EVM, isn't it, sir?
See, we have to understand one thing. When we are talking about all this, it is only about data that is making that difference. The program is already made. Many people think that the program has to be changed. No, 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 no. Program is the same. See, there's another thing that the election commission, although I want to talk about something different, which we will soon
Yes.
get to.
Yes. Yes.
Quick thing. Election commission has been saying that they have thrown challenge to people to show that this can misbehave. This is a complete, I think, completely incorrect approach. See, when a car company makes a car, the car company doesn't ask its users or customers to prove that the car is safe.
Correct. Accident करके लेके आओ.
हाँ, एक्सीडेंट हो गया तो वो बोलेंगे दिखाओ, हमको करके दिखाओ, और मरता है क्या आदमी देखते हैं. No, they don't say that. They get a certificate of safety. They prove that this car is safe even while driving, and they don't do it in without testing it hard. If you see the NCAP test, they actually ram the car. They actually run it at 80 kilometers and
Yes.
put the dummies inside, etc., etc. So the onus of proving that a particular system, when it is introduced, that it behaves properly under real life conditions. In this case, it means on the polling day, lies squarely and only with the election commission, no one else. They can't say that we've called experts and they can't prove it. They can't prove it because you don't even allow it to be touched. That's a different thing. If you tell me that I will not allow you to drive the car, but show it to make an accident, how will you be able to ever prove? You'll never be able to
Correct.
prove. So that is a very big mistake that has been happening, and that's a very incorrect defense of a system which has systemic flaws. It has to be rectified. Now, going to what we should do, I think that is the most important thing that
Correct.
we have to think of, because we are getting
Correct.
into these elections,
Correct, sir.
and then we,
Before we get into that quintessential part of our debate, our discussion, where we talk about what is the solution, I just want to ask you one more question, sir. This, what is the percentage? This is a hardware now. What is the percentage of error that one can expect from this hardware? Because see, whenever one has seen that there was problems, you punch one number, you punch one party, it goes to another party and all that. Whenever one has seen as a problem, it has always been said that okay, ठीक है, error है ये, होता है, machine है. So what is the percentage of error, sir, as a professional? What do you think?
theoretically, the internationally accepted standard is 1 in 1 million, which means 1 in 10 lakh. This is the see, I'll tell you one thing. All aeroplanes fly with hardware and software, right?
Yes.
When that makes a mistake, you know what happened to Boeing Max? You had 3 accidents and all the fleet was grounded.
Correct.
You can't say that, okay, you know what, there are millions of flights every day across the world. So
Correct.
what if 2, 3, 4, 5 flights, crash? No, that is not acceptable. That
Correct.
is a far more difficult environment to manage when you are right in the air, 35,000 feet.
Correct.
It's a far more difficult environment to manage than managing an EVM on the ground with all the controlled parameters. So theoretical answer is 1 in 10 lakh is the error. So if 10 lakh people vote, 1 vote can go wrong.
Correct.
Now election commission can ask themselves, is that what they are following?
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Sir, now to the quintessential question. What is the solution?
Right. So we actually are now faced with 5 problems. Just give me a second. I'm sorry, but I'll open that here.
Please.
So that I don't miss anything.
Please. This, I think, will be the most important part of this interview as to what is the solution. I mean, we've been hearing so many things about so many problems, so many things. Let's talk what is the actual solution. And that is what we are trying to do here.
So we are actually looking at 5 problems. One is we do not know for sure whether the control unit actually saves our vote or not. What is responded, what is told by the VVPAT to the control unit is not known. That's one part. Second part is that because now VVPAT may be involved in recording that vote by the control unit, our voting has become indirect. Earlier, we used to directly vote. Even with the earlier EVMs where there was no VVPAT, the button press on ballot unit would directly go to control unit and it will save it. So it was a direct action. Now there is an indirect action. It's like me giving you my vote and you putting it in the ballot box. Now I do not know whether you put my vote or you put something from your pocket. That is the second problem that we are, second situation we are dealing with. Third is that possibly there could be a replaced control unit between the polling day and the counting day. We do not know because there is no GPS tracker where these go. There is, yes, they say that there is a camera, live camera, and armed people and all that, but there is no electronic surveillance in the form of GPS tracking. There is no electronic pairing which will ensure that no other unit now has come into. See, if there is electronic pairing, like you have Bluetooth, if you connect your phone Bluetooth with some other device. That some other device allows only recognized things to your phone
Transmit.
will be
Hmm.
recognized, right? Once you
Hmm.
pair it, you have to either unpair it
Hmm.
or
Yes.
pair other device. That kind of electronic pairing is not there.
Hmm.
So that replacement can become physical reality. That's a risk that we are facing. And we also do not have any data for whatever reason. Nobody has collected any data as to how many of the voters actually trust this EVM system. How many voters, when they press Apple, actually see Apple printed? And how many see that the slip dropped in the VVPAT box? That data is not there. So, what we have to do, I think every voter that goes in should make a very conscious effort, very consciously, they should look at whether they see the same symbol being printed by the VVPAT on their VVPAT slip. And they also should see that the slip drops in the VVPAT box.
Hmm.
I have been exhorting all the political parties, whether they are in power, whether they are not in power, in a particular state, in at center, wherever, they should place one volunteer at every booth. That volunteer should educate the voter to see that they see the symbol and see the slip being dropped, and also tell the voter that if they do not see any one of these two, that is either they don't see the same symbol being printed or the slip not being dropped in the box, they should come and tell the volunteer they did not see whatever happened. They should not divulge who they voted for. The volunteer should not ask who they voted for. That is a crime. They should not do it. But they should only make a note of how many people do not see their vote being either reflected on the slip in the form of the symbol or the slip getting dropped. With that, what will happen is we will collect empirical data on the ground. Let's say we collect out of the 90 crore voters that are going to vote this time, as per the election commission. Even if we collect data from 10 crore voters, and let's say only 20 lakhs say, that is 2%.
Hmm. Hmm.
2% say that we did not see this.
Hmm.
Given that, which means 98% saw that their vote was actually reflected on the
Casting.
slip,
Hmm. Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Correct.
Versus 0% see the vote being stored in the control unit. Then we can make an argument based on this data that 98% have actually confirmed that they saw their vote. We have another challenge. We have two votes now. Every voter has two votes. One is on
Hmm.
the slip,
Hmm.
and the other is the electronic vote in the control unit. The
Control.
slip, people have at least seen. Control
Hmm.
unit, your electronic vote, nobody has seen.
Correct.
So Supreme Court will have to decide which is the real vote. Both can't be original. One has to be original, the other has to be a copy. Right? You can't have two
Correct.
originals.
Correct. Correct.
So they
Correct.
will have to decide. And
Correct.
in the current situation, Election Commission guidelines say that the precedence is given to the paper slip. Now, the thing is that if 20% people say that, oh, we did not see our vote reflected, then we also know that the EVM is not reliable. 20% is too high. We can't rely on such a system. Even that will be
Correct.
known. So
Correct.
political parties should make every effort to do and collect this data.
Correct.
Besides, because it is election data, everybody will challenge it. They will say, what is the authenticity? Vote is secret. But we haven't asked who you voted for. We have just asked whether your vote reflected the same way.
Yeah. Correct. Mr. Deshpande, I want to ask you one question. You see, this printout that we see and what is there in the system, is there a way where there can be some kind of an intervention where maybe using a software where there can be some kind of a linkage where there is no difference between what is printed and what is in the system? Is that difficult to create?
No, it is not. And I have actually I've written articles on this. One was in the India Forum, the other one was on Wire, and I've also talked about it. See, the thing is that you have to, what we call as complete audit trail has to be there, and it has to be used. Election Commission claims that there is a complete audit trail, but in so many cases that have been filed, they have never come out with that audit trail. Audit trail will tell you button 2 pressed at this time on this date, button 3 pressed, etc. And then you can match the count. And there should not be, as I said, 1 in a million is the difference that is allowed. But that is not being done. So, given what is available right now, I think the best thing for the voter is to ensure that the slip shows what they've voted for and the slip drops in. Political parties collect this data. How many people at every booth did not see either the symbol being printed or the slip not being dropped? Correct. And with that, then we can make some more, because we have gone into a deadlock right now. Correct. The detractors of EVM systems like me, who tried theoretically to prove that this is not right, there are some people who've made attempts to build similar systems and demonstrate how this can be done. It can be misused. They continue to claim that this is not right. Election Commission has shut the doors. It is stonewalling everything. They don't respond. They don't give any answers to technical queries. So we have gone into a deadlock. This can continue. Correct. It has to be broken. And the only way that I can think it can be broken is by collecting this actual data on the day of polling. Collect this data, empirical data, and then we will know. If only 2% see that there is no way, there was, that they could not see, and 98% believe that they saw, then we can say, we can go to the Supreme Court and say, see, 98% have seen this slip, 0% have seen the electronic vote. So you count the VVPAT slips. Where is the question? It's democracy. It is for the people. It is not for the system per se. It is for the people. And if 98% people believe, then you have to go by that. But for that, we will need data.
Correct. Mr. Deshpande, there's one point, there's one problem that what I see here. The problem is as to one has to then take the political party's word for granted. The political party says, okay, I have 2% discrepancy, and that data we have to take for granted. Now, one has no way to authenticize whether that political party is giving us the right data, isn't it, Mr. Deshpande?
Not really. Especially into the current circumstances. Not really, because at least 2 candidates will contest, and every candidate has at least 1 volunteer.
Correct.
And if each political party has 1 volunteer who keeps this tally, there would be some difference, maybe, Correct. But it can't be that if I am a volunteer, I say that, for me, 5% reported, and you are another volunteer and you say, no, I didn't have anybody.
Correct.
That's not likely to happen. Theoretically, it can happen, yes. As I said, and because it's election data, everybody will always question it. In that case, we can apply the same rules that Election Commission or Supreme Court has applied. Election Commission got some statisticians. I don't know. I am not a statistician, so I don't want to comment on the correctness or the incorrectness of that approach. But they said 2% will reflect the entire 100%. That's why they came up with this 2% testing of, control unit tally and all that. Supreme Court improved it and said 5%.
Correct.
Let us take 5% of Supreme Court.
Correct.
If 98% say that they've seen, they trust that, and we reduce 5% from 98, even then there is 93%.
Correct.
Which is still overwhelming, right?
Correct. So absolutely correct.
We can apply the same statistics that they have. As I said, I'm not a statistician, so I don't know the correctness or incorrectness of that. I will take whatever they have said. If they have said 2 and 5, we will apply 2% or 5%. I took 5 because 5 is a higher figure. We to subtract. 98 minus 2 becomes 96. 98 minus 5 becomes 93. Even in that case, these are overwhelming numbers.
Correct. I agree. Sir, you see, this when you talk about 1 in a million, okay, is EVM a global problem? Because developed countries doesn't seem to be using EVM. Now, the logic behind that is, there's no population. They don't have such a huge task. of polling. So therefore, they don't use. But is EVM, this problem that you're talking about, is it a global issue? Is it a global problem? Or is it something very local for us?
Yes, and that is for many different reasons. So I don't want to give you the entire history, but you might be interested in knowing that the first attempt to mechanize the election, I'm not saying use electronics, but mechanize, happened way back in 1887.
Oh,
That was the first attempt to mechanize voting. So
oh.
there were levers, and it was a mechanical machine. But let's move away from
So it was
that.
actual machine kind of stuff where you went,
Yes,
okay. That's
yes,
interesting.
yes.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Right. So what has happened? See, the sensitivities of people in developed countries are different. So, for example, in Germany, the High Court overruled, gave a ruling that in the current form, EVMs cannot be used just because one citizen approached the Supreme Court, not the High Court, sorry, the Supreme Court of Germany, and he was able to prove that the machine is not able to guarantee me the transparency of vote. See, the basic principle of voting is that it has to be cast as intended, as I intend. If I press button 3, it has to be cast as 3. It has to be recorded as it is cast. That means if the VVPAT prints slip for 3, it should also send 3 to control unit and it should save it, and it should be counted as recorded. That means if the control unit is used, one control unit is used, it should not be able to be replaced. And that's where the electronic pairing comes in. These are the fundamental principles of voting across the globe.
Correct.
Now, if you look at this, you realize that these are serious problems with our EVM system. We are unable to, and that is exactly what that one citizen was able to prove in the Supreme Court of Germany, that the electronic system is unable to guarantee me that the recorded vote in electronic format is the same that I cast.
Correct.
So record as cast could not be proved beyond doubt. So they said in the present system, this is unacceptable. They banned it. Same approach was used almost across Europe. In the US, they use optical scanners. So US has a different set of problems. In the general elections, they don't use EVMs. They are called direct recording equipment, DRE, where they use optical scanners. So the voter ticks the vote. They don't have multiple candidates like us. They have only 2 candidates, right? By and large, or maybe 3. So in some cases, 3.
Correct.
So they don't have a large ballot paper and they don't have a stamp and all that. They tick using a ball pen. But then there are issues there. If the vertex of the tick is not in the box, then the vote doesn't get counted. And these problems they have been struggling with.
Yes. We
So
saw something similar in Chandigarh also.
So they still resort to manual, but they don't have officers like the one we had in Chandigarh.
Correct.
They have
Correct.
honest officers. So they still resort to manual counting.
Correct.
Of
So
the
that's
paper votes.
Sir, my parting question to you. Given an option, what would you prefer? You would prefer a ballot box or an EVM? Assuming there are certain checks and balances.
I have always said I have never been an advocate of going back to ballot boxes, because ballot boxes used to be rigged. We know that.
Correct.
There's no reason to believe that they will not be rigged today.
Correct.
Plus, ballot boxes, the paper votes had a problem that we had too many null and void votes because the stamp would not be exactly where it should be. There could be 2 stamps and things like that, right? There
Correct.
are important improvements to be made to this system. This system has advantages. That there are no void votes now.
Correct.
But these are big problems that it can be doctored.
Correct. Correct.
So,
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry, you're saying.
No, go on.
No, I just wanted to ask you: can we see a day in the future at some point in time where you have a system, a machine that just can't be doctor, and you have to be you can be absolutely sure that the person you vote gets the vote you vote for.
Yes, yes,
Will there be a day?
yes, and not too far.
Excellent, excellent, Mr. Deshpande. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for talking to me, and what a pleasure talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.